Welcome, young and old, gay and straight, married, single, bisexual, transgender, welcome. People of all colors, cultures, and abilities, welcome. Noisy, wiggly babies and children of all ages, welcome. Rich and poor, powerful and weak, believers and questioners and questioning believers, welcome. Welcome, all you who seek God's graceful, open-hearted love and the beautiful new world that love makes possible. Welcome to Brentwood Christian Church.
Good evening. Welcome to Brentwood's Got Talent. We have really been looking forward to this evening. It's so wonderful to see each and every one of you here tonight. We are raising money for about as important of a cause as we can, the cold weather shelters during the winter months here in Springfield. So thank you for being here and helping us raise money for that important effort. I will share more information about the crisis cold weather shelters later in our worship service, but I just want to begin by expressing my appreciation to you because we're here and it's a lot of fun, but we're also raising money for what is really important for us to do in the spirit of love. So thank you so much for being part of that effort. I would also like to thank all of the people who donated to our silent auction. Thank you so much. Also to those of you bidding on the silent auctions, feel free to bid them up because 100% of the proceeds is going to go to our outreach and cold weather shelter efforts. The bidding on the silent auction items will conclude 15 minutes after the program ends. And so you don't have to get up and leave if you don't want to. Now you can. I've been known to kind of monitor, things I've bid on before to see how they're doing. But know that you will have 15 minutes after the show concludes, and we will make an announcement by the items themselves, kind of with a countdown, like, 5 minutes left, 1 minute left, 30 seconds left, time. I would also like to thank our outreach committee for organizing tonight's event. You all have done a fantastic job getting everything ready, a lot of behind the scenes prep work, so thank you very much for that. I want to thank our tech crew, the folks that make this happen and are never in front. Anytime we have one of these kinds of events, usually our tech crew has the longest shifts because they get here at the very beginning to do sound checks for everybody. And then they leave at the very end. So huge thanks to our tech crew. They're never up front, but they make it all happen. And Kiko is doing the live stream so that those who can't be here this evening in person are able to still participate. I want to also thank our performers. We have a bunch of great performers, as you can tell. We've got musicians, we've got readings. We're going to have a lot of fun tonight. There's so much talent, and it's one of the things that I just am so grateful to be a part of, so grateful to be part of this church, so grateful for each and every one of you. And so we will get things started by inviting John Boy Shepherd to come up to sing The Impossible Dream. Now, we know John Shepherd as the one who oftentimes coordinates our downstairs fellowship dinners, also our meal trains whenever we're trying to pitch in to help out with getting meals to people who are going through hard times. John often is the person who organizes all of that, so we kind of know John through that. But before I knew John through Brentwood, he was a Foggy River boy in Branson, Missouri. And that's where he was known as John Boy.
That was my nickname, John Boy. But I just turned 75, so I don't think I can be a boy anymore. In fact, it's kind of impossible, the impossible dream. To dream the impossible dream, to fight the unbeatable foe, to bear with unbearable sorrow, to run where the brave dare not go, to right the unrightable wrong, to love pure and chaste from afar, to try when your arms are too weary, to reach the unreachable unreachable star. This is my quest to follow that star, no matter how hopeless, no matter how far, to fight for the right without question or pause, to be willing to march into hell for a heavenly cause. And I know if I'll only be true to this glorious quest, then my heart will lie peaceful and calm when I'm laid to my rest. And the world will be better for this, that one man, scorned and covered with scars, still strove with his last ounce of courage to dream the impossible dream, to reach the unreachable star.
Jaquetta Kenyon.
You might want to mute this mic while I move it, Andy. I think we're friends. Hello, Brentwood. I am just so honored to be here. The usual capacity you see me in is I'm usually accompanying somebody else. So this is, I think, the first time I'm performing for you all on the piano. And I feel so lucky to be following up the last two acts, the other pianists here. I think the most wonderful thing about talent is that, well, we all have them, right? Some of them are more demonstratable than others, which is nice. And they take a lot of courage to show too, right? And a lot of dedication and time and care. And even though we hear from our ears, one of those songs was more complicated than the other one, we all know that the journey to get to this piano to play for you all is just as difficult, I think, for whoever is up here. It's always scary to show ourselves and to be transparent with who we are and vulnerable with the things that we care about and what we love. And for me, transparency and allowing myself to be seen and heard and understood has been a lifelong journey. I'm sure many of you know that it's so easy to want to be loved and appreciated that we find ourselves acting in ways that we think will get us that love and that care and that respect. And my life, I've had a journey of just running from one thing to another and trying to fit in and also being disappointed, And part of that disappointment isn't on anybody. Part of that is on me, because when I embody something that isn't actually me, it's not going to fit right. It's like wearing clothes that are much too big or much too tight. And so I just, through my piano playing tonight, I want to just show a bit of myself as much as I'm able to. And I don't know what that's going to look like. I'm making it up as I go along, and I hope you all enjoy it. These days you will find what it is you're searching for, what it is you're looking for. One of these days you will find love. That was on tune. But it's not one of those days at all the time. It's not one of those days all of the time. At least that's how I feel inside sometimes. I get knocked down a lot. I get my hopes up. I breathe, I sigh, I even cry some times. It's okay, that's part of it. It's okay, that's part of it. I know, I know, I know, I know that. When something magical happens, I know I can breathe again. Something inside of me cries out to be heard. And if no one else will see me, I'll try to see me for myself. I know I can make that happen. But today is not one of those days. I get to share myself with you all. I get to be heard and seen and even loved. I know all of you. You have your own journeys too. And that you choose to be here. You choose to be seen. It's just a part of things. It's just a part of things.
What I wanted was to fall asleep, close my eyes and disappear like a petal on a stream, a feather on the air. Lily white and poppy red, I trembled when he laid me out. You won't feel a thing, he said, when you go down. Nothing can wait. until they aren't. Flowers bloom until they rot and fall apart. Is anybody listening? I open my mouth and nothing comes out. Nothing can awake me now. Flowers, I remember fields of flowers, soft beneath my heels, walking in the sun. I remember someone by my side, turned his face to mine, and then I turned away into the shade. The one I left behind. If you ever walk this way, come and find me lying in the bed I made.
Wonderful start. Those are some beautiful moments already. Thank you so much to John, Jaquetta, Quinn, Andy, and Elle. These are some special moments to be part of. Thank you for letting us be part of these moments. So on your program, it says that Dietrich Bowen Marler is going to do a dance number. Unfortunately, Dietrich is not feeling well and was running a fever yesterday. So Dietrich can't be here, and I can't dance. But no amount of applause will get me to dance. That's it. But the Reverend Charlie Bong can play piano. So Pastor Charlie is going to do a special number for us on the piano.
Since I'm substituting for Dietrich, I was going to do the surface pressure dancing, but I decided I'd do something else instead. I found an original copy of the sheet music for Blue Moon, and it's from the year 1934.
So I can't dance, but I tell you what, if there's any songs that make me almost feel like I can, and it's going to be hard not to, I heard this in rehearsal, Annika is going to take this party to a whole nother level.
I hopped off the plane, LAX with a drain and start again. Welcome to the land of fame XX. Woo! Am I gonna fit in? Jumped in the cab, here I am for the first time. Look to my right and I see the Hollywood sign. This is all so crazy. Everybody seems so famous. My tummy's turning and I'm feeling kind of homesick. Too much pressure and I'm nervous. 'Cause when the taxi man turned on the radio and a Jay-Z song was on, and a Jay-Z song was on, and a Jay-Z song was on. So I put my hands up to playing my song, The Butterflies Fly Away. I'm nodding my head like yeah, moving my hips like yeah. Got my hands up to playing my song, they know I'm gonna be okay. Yeah, it's a party in USA. Yeah, it's a party in USA. In a taxi cab, everybody's looking at me now. Like, who's that chick that's rocking kicks? She's gotta be from out of town. So hard with girls not around me. It's definitely a Nashville party, 'cause all I see is the letters. I guess I never got the memo. My tummy's turning and I'm feeling kind of homesick. Too much pressure and I'm nervous. 'Cause when the DJ dropped my favorite tune and a Britney song was on, and a Britney song was on, and a Britney song was on. So I put my hands up to playing my song, The Butterflies Fly Away. I'm nodding my head like yeah, moving my hips like yeah. Got my hands up to playing my song, they know I'm gonna be okay. Yeah, it's a party in USA. Yeah, it's a party in USA. Feel like hopping on a flight, back to my hometown tonight. Something stops me every time. The DJ plays my song and I feel alright. So I put my hands up to play my song, The Butterflies Fly Away. I'm nodding my head like yeah, moving my hips like yeah. Got my hands up to play my song, they know I'm gonna be okay. Yeah, it's a party in USA. Yeah, it's a party in USA. Got my hands up to play my song, they know let's fly away. I'm nodding my head like yeah, moving my hips like yeah. Got my hands up to play my song, they know I'm gonna be okay. Yeah, it's a party in USA. Yeah, it's a party in USA.
Together tonight, and when we put this order together, I don't know what we were thinking we could follow that.
Also, I have none of my music memorized, so y'all got me beat.
I want to thank Emily for singing this one tonight. I grew up on country music. I listen to country music all the time to this day. I want to do a bunch of Sturgill Simpson, but it's too complicated for me. And so I had to find a song that I really liked that only had like 3 chords in it. And so, Emily, is it safe to say that you did not grow up on country music?
Only Kenny Rogers.
That's not bad. And so anyhow, we rewrote this one to an old favorite that I remember Willie Nelson and Waylon Jennings singing when I was a little kid.
Preachers ain't easy to love, at least that's what I'm told. They'd rather give you a sermon than diamonds and gold. Lectionary readings and endless verse teasings, they've always got something to say. If you don't understand them, that doesn't stop them. They'll just keep blathering away. Mamas, don't let your babies grow up to be preachers. Don't let them get behind the pulpit so much. Let them be doctors and lawyers and such. Mamas, don't let your babies grow up to be preachers. 'Cause they'll never stop all the pontificating, even to someone they love. Preachers like old commentaries and obscure word studies. Hebrew and Greek phrases keep them up all through the night. Them that don't know 'em won't like 'em, and them that do sometimes won't know how to take 'em. They ain't wrong, they're just different, but their pride won't let them do things to make them all right. Mamas, don't let your babies grow up to be preachers. Don't let them get behind the pulpit so much. Let them be doctors and lawyers and such. Mamas, don't let your babies grow up to be preachers. 'Cause they'll never stop all the pontificating, even to someone they love. I am going to try to do this. Yeah? Okay, cool. I don't know how many of you got to go see Sweet Louisa. It was the opera that I was in back at the end of September, beginning of October. And it was composed by my friend Katie Kring, and she actually does a ton of work with the unsheltered population here in Springfield. She directs Springfield Street Choir. I don't know if any of you got a chance to go to their concert that they had. I think it was last weekend. But so this is one of the songs that was in Sweet Louisa. It's a song that I got to sing in Sweet Louisa. But just to kind of set it up, because it's kind of a depressing song, but I just want to set up a little bit. So Sweet Louisa, it's kind of a gothic, not a horror story, kind of a ghost story maybe. But it's set in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan in the early 1900s. And there's just a lot of, it's a dangerous life living up there, especially for people. So it's about a lighthouse, a lightkeeper, and his family. And it's just really dangerous, hard work. And so a lot of people, you know, don't survive that hard life. And so that's kind of what this song is talking about, so. My grandfather sailed here from Prussia at 20. Young, strong, and foolish, he found him a wife. He'd not be a sailor of the sea, he had plenty. No, he went to the mines where he spent his whole life. This rough country asks, can you make your mark here? This rough country asks, how much will you give? Scraping, surviving till breath leaves your body. And this rough country tells you how long you shall live. My grandmother raised me to understand nature. What you most cherish is soon to be gone. The waves come to rob you, the earth waits to claim you. She spent her whole life letting go, moving on. My husband, my brothers gave their lives mining copper, and so many others gave their lives to the lake. This rough country asks, where will you perish? Underground, underwater, that's the only choice you make. There's no time to mourn, no time to grieve. This rough country owns you. This rough country asks you, what mark will you make? What trace will you leave?
We are getting ready to move into our Bluegrass jamboree. I think we might even have a washboard and banjo for this evening's jamboree. One of the things I just want to give us an opportunity to do once again is to give toward the cold weather shelter efforts. I have mentioned this already this morning. I want to mention it to you again tonight. The cold weather shelter efforts in Springfield, all of them need our best support, and they deserve our best support. The people that are working hard on the ground, whether they're paid, whether they're volunteers, ranging from larger organizations like like Community Partnership of the Ozarks, CPO, to smaller organizations like the Connecting Grounds. All of that work is incredibly important. It's a matter of life and death. Something we are aware of as a congregation is that if you're a member of the LGBTQ community, you are twice as likely to be unsheltered or experiencing homelessness. This is a real need in the Springfield community. There are a number of shelters that are designated for men or for women, but a few years ago, Brentwood, along with some other local progressive communities of faith, recognized that there's not a space for those who are non-binary or trans. Also, the cold weather shelter efforts that we've been a part of try to allow families to stay together, including pets. It's very hard to seek shelter for yourself, but to leave your beloved pet. With many pets are part of our families, to leave them outside in the cold. And so while we want to support the efforts of all of the shelters in the Springfield area, tonight we are especially raising money for the crisis cold weather shelters that is a place of hospitality for those who are LGBTQIA, as well as those families that wish to stay together. There are needs of financial resources, volunteers. If you'd like to volunteer, contact Emily or me, and we're happy to get you the information that you need. And the way that we're able to help in this community is through all of us doing what we can. It takes a community. As Ryan was talking about this morning, it takes a community together doing the work. And so during this Bluegrass jamboree, we are going to pass the offering plates. You can make a check out to Brentwood Christian Church and put benevolence or Brentwood's Got Talent in the memo line. You can also follow the instructions on the screen if you like to give online. Thank you so much for being here this evening, helping us raise money for what is really the most important work we can be about this time of year. Thank you.
Before we start, I just wanted to say real quick that so I didn't play piano because I figured you guys hear me every Sunday. But so we're going to do a song. If you've ever grown up watching Andy Griffith, the Darling Brothers, you might know that the Dutton Band was actually from here in the Ozark area. So we're going to start off with a song from them. So. Dooley was a good old man who used to follow the mill. Dooley had 2 daughters and a 40-gallon still. One gal watched the boiler, the other watched the spout. And Mama poured them bottles and old Dooley fetched them out. Dooley slipped up the holler, Dooley try and make $1. Dooley, give me a swallow and I'll pay you back someday. When into town he come, to buy the bushel and molasses by the ton. Revenuers came from him, slipping through the woods. Dooley kept behind them all and never lost his goods. Dooley slipped up the holler, Dooley trying to make $1. Dooley, give me a swallow and I'll pay you back someday.
without having a song that you all could join in for singing. So we're going to have the words up on the screen, and we hope you'll join us in singing. I think you'll know it.
But it's not in our hymnals. No, it is not in our hymnals. We looked.
If anybody knows how to clone Andy, we are in favor of that. That's right. That's right. We're going to switch gears for a little bit. We have 3 different readings. We're going to have some original poetry by Alex Turner, a reading written by Shannon Etheridge from her book Completely His, which she also donated to the silent auction. And then also there are going to be original poems written by Bob Stevens. Bob wanted to be here this evening, but he is on vacation out of the country. And so he's not able to be here. He wanted to participate. And so Dan McFarland is going to read 3 of the poems that Bob Stevens wrote for his most recent book of poetry. And so with that, I would like to invite Alex to come up and share.
This is my first time being on stage in a while, so I'm a little nervous. Okay. I'd like to start off by saying that I am a foster child, but it is a journey. It has been a journey. I have not let that be an excuse or a handicap for me. I believe that it's not about getting good cards, but about playing the ones you've been dealt with. And I can't change my circumstances, but that doesn't mean I have to be limited by them. I may be a foster kid, but I am strong. So this is a short poem I wrote. Thank you. This is a short poem I wrote, and it's dedicated to my foster family. It's called Love is Thicker Than Blood. I sat alone and afraid. You got a call and came to my aid. You bundled me up with blankets and love, and when I needed it most, you gave me a hug. I learned that the world is not all scary and cold, that sometimes there is someone to have and to hold. You taught me what love is. You helped me to mend. You loved me and healed me and became my best friend.
It's amazing. Thank you. I'm Shannon Etheridge, and in 2007, I wrote actually a 5-book series. The lead book is called Completely His, Loving Jesus Without Limits. And then there are 4 devotionals that follow that take people through the scripture from Genesis to Revelation. Those devotionals are called Completely Loved, Completely Forgiven, Completely Blessed, and Completely Irresistible. After writing all 5 of those in 1 year, I was completely exhausted. But completely delighted at how so many people were saying, I've read through the Bible multiple times, but I've never read through it looking at it through the lens of, this is God's love letter to me, and God is wooing me and pursuing me into an intimate relationship with him. So really the whole series is about embracing your role as the bride of Christ, and that applies to both men and women, because God is both, all of the above. But I wanted to just share a brief passage tonight from the lead book, Completely His. This is chapter 2, Glimpses of a Loving God. I'm just going to read the first couple of pages. Half of it is my writing. The other half is an excerpt that I will explain when I get there. So, Glimpses of a Loving God. I walked downstairs to my office/laundry room one afternoon, noticing that someone had left the dryer door open with a load of towels still unfolded inside. Since I leaned toward perfectionism, I couldn't just sit down and concentrate on the work that I needed to do, knowing that a load of towels was just sitting there. I slammed the dryer door shut, turned the knob to high heat for 30 minutes, and sat down to pay some bills. Within seconds, I heard a thud coming from inside the dryer, then another thud, and so it continued in rhythm. I thought, one of the kids must have tossed their wet sneakers into the dryer. Thinking nothing of it, I pressed on until the buzzer went off half an hour later. Not wanting the towels to wrinkle, I opened the dryer door immediately, reached in, and pulled out not a sneaker, but Missy, the family cat. Dazed and delirious from having used up at least 8 of her 9 lives during that 30-minute dryer ride. It took Missy several hours to regain her composure. Fortunately, she survived the ordeal, and the children eventually forgave me for being so careless. Things aren't always what they seem. I had assumed that whatever was rumbling around in that dryer was probably just some old worthless sneakers, but it turned out to be something very precious to every member of our family. Had I not reached inside to fold those towels immediately, Missy surely would have died from heat exhaustion. In order for her to survive, I had to reach in and grab hold of her. God's nature isn't what it always seems either. In my earlier years, I saw God as a heavenly killjoy, an angry disciplinarian, a disinterested, distant being who is exasperated by my failed attempts at getting my spiritual act together. Had I known that God's nature is so merciful, so gracious, so patient, kind, and loving, I would have embraced a close relationship with him much sooner than I did. I'm just thankful that God, in his goodness, has given me such an intimate and personal revelation about his true character. We all need to get a glimpse of God's true character. He can't do wrong by you, regardless of who or how many have left you, neglected you, or hurt you. You'll never have to count God as one of those people. It's not just that he won't, it's that he can't. His very nature makes that impossible. So rest assured, You can't wear out your welcome. You can't do anything good enough to make him love you more than he already does, nor can you do anything bad enough to make him love you any less. God is unchangeable, forever committed to his love relationship with you. Only he is capable of loving you without any limits whatsoever, and only he is deserving of your limitless love in return. Of course, I'm not the only one who has ever found this hard to believe. Rather than recognizing God as such an extravagant lover, many people see him as a harsh, impossible to please, distant, judgmental disciplinarian, as illustrated in this piece of prose that was originally published in Christian Liberation magazine out of Berkeley, California. At the end of time, billions of people were scattered on a great plain before God's throne. Some of the groups near the front talked heatedly, not cringing with shame, but raging with belligerence. How can God judge us? How can he know anything about suffering? Snapped a smoldering brunette. She jerked back a sleeve to reveal a tattooed number from a Nazi concentration camp. We endured terror, beatings, torture, death. In another group, a black man lowered his collar. What about this, he demanded, showing an ugly rope burn. Lynched for no crime but being black. We've suffocated in slave ships, been wrenched from loved ones, and toiled until only death gave relief. Far out across the plain were hundreds of such groups. Each one had a complaint against God for the evil and suffering being permitted in this world. How lucky God was to live in heaven, where all was sweetness and light, where there was no weeping, no fear, no hunger, no hatred. Indeed, what did God know about what man had been forced to endure in this world? After all, God leads a pretty sheltered life, they said. So each group sent out a leader, chosen because he had suffered the most. There was a Jew, a black, an untouchable from India, an illegitimate, a person from Hiroshima, and one from a Siberian slave camp. In the center of the plain, they consulted with each other. At last, they were ready to present their case. It was rather simple. Before God would be qualified to be their judge, he must endure what they had endured. The decision was that God should be sentenced to live on earth as a man. But because he was God, they set certain safeguards to be sure that he could not use his divine powers to help himself. Let him be born a Jew. Let the legitimacy of his birth be doubted, so that none will know who his father really is. Let him champion a cause so just but so radical that it brings down upon him the hate, condemnation, and eliminating efforts of every major traditional and established religious authority. Let him try to describe what no man has ever seen, tasted, or smelled. Let him try to communicate God to men. Let him be betrayed by his dearest friends. Let him be indicted on false charges and tried before a prejudiced jury and convicted by a cowardly judge. Let him see what it is to be terribly alone, completely abandoned by every living thing. Let him be tortured and let him die the most humiliating death among common thieves. As each leader pronounced his portion of the sentence, loud murmurs of approval went up from the great throng of people. When the last finished pronouncing the sentence, there was a long silence. No one uttered another word. No one moved, for suddenly all knew that God had already served his sentence.
Hi, everybody, and it's wonderful to be here, first time in your church with your congregation. And as Phil mentioned, I'm filling in for Bob Stevens. I'm going to read a couple of his poems. But first, I'd just like to let everyone know that this is our anniversary. My wife and I, my wife Lynn, yes, is one of those very important milestone anniversaries. We've been married 2 weeks. So, see, I didn't forget. So Bob Stevens was a middle school teacher in his first career. He had many careers, as some of you who are friends with him know. He was a middle school teacher in the county of Texas County. This first poem is about one of his very first students, an 8th grade student, and it's entitled, That Kid. 6 years after she wrote a poem in my 8th grade English class, they found her body in a ditch, 12 gunshot wounds. Even in junior high, she was known as that kid. The student who pushed against the rules, the teachers, the cheerleader who tested all the limits. News of her death was not a shock. How could it be? She ran against all the norms. Word was she was mixed up with a drug culture. Rumor or truth, no one was surprised. That kid would test all the boundaries, and when the heat became too intense, she'd back away with, I don't want to do this anymore. But that kid messed with the wrong crowd, and they didn't permit a change of mind or a change of heart. She couldn't just say, I don't want to do this anymore. Their option, 12 bullets. I wondered what was in her mind during that car ride to that lonely ditch where gunshots could not be heard, or if they were heard, they were just part of the landscape. Did she realize death was close, that she'd gone too far this time? Or was she completely unaware, laughing with the group as they drove? That kid. They found her in a ditch, dead, not yet 20. It was her final day, the final ride for that kid. Her name was Judy. Thank you, Bob. That's for Bob. I've really appreciated reading Bob's poetry by myself, getting familiar with it, and he's my neighbor, he's our neighbor, and him and his wife are having a great time in Mexico. So I'm going to read one more. This one, after Bob's retirement at 3M and serving as mayor, he was dragged kicking and screaming back into the workforce. This is the introduction to the poem, by the way. This time, he would combat COVID-19 by directing the mobile vaccination clinic for Jordan Valley Health Center. His poem, Pod Heroes, is the only poem ever published in the Greene County Medical Society Journal. Pod of Heroes. Walking down the hall on Thursday towards a dark office door, I can tell by the lack of lights that my office pod is empty of people. 2 out today to avoid overtime, 1 recovering from a hospital stay, 2 more working remotely, and 1 MIA. I flip on the lights. Today, I retire. This is the COVID pod, a special place, with a special team created to delay the spread of COVID-19, this century's pandemic. Nurses, grant writers, administrators, compliance officers, all working together along with temporary podsters, using computers, completing reports, setting up schedules, or simply encouraging each other as we fight a virus and the ignorance. I so admire the nurses who give the vaccinations and the volunteers who work the registration and observation areas. They all know they put themselves in great danger because, by definition, everyone who comes to us is unvaccinated and possibly a carrier. Yet every day, I hear their tireless voices. Hey, have you got a new event for us today? Where do we go tomorrow? Don't forget the stickers. These are my heroes. I worked with a pod full of heroes. Thank you, Bob. Enjoy Mexico.
Thank you to Alex, to Shannon, as well as to Bob via Dan. And congratulations on 2 weeks. That's awesome. Yeah. So we're going to move back to music. And Will Richardson is one of my favorite singer-songwriters. I met him when he started attending Brentwood Christian Church years ago. And during the pandemic, when we were doing our worship service online, he did a few songs for us. And he is back to perform, and he's going to open it up with one of my very favorite religious songs called Jericho.
Heard the story of the master and the woman at the well. He was more than just a prophet. When you met him, you could tell. You heard how at the wedding he turned water into wine. Well, here's a story never told, although I meant to at the time. My name is John. I'm the disciple who was always by his side. I was with him on the mountain, and I watched him as he died. Took his mother Mary's hand and said, we'd better go. Looked up at him to say goodbye as he looked down at Jericho. Now Jericho was Jesus' little dog, a mongrel that he'd found, who was always right behind him as we went from town to town. I remember once in Galilee, he said, John, when I go to drink my Father's bitter cup, take care of Jericho. So many things that Jesus did were never written down. The world could not contain the books if everyone were bound. You won't read it in John's Gospel, there's no chapter 22. But just because you never heard it doesn't mean it isn't true. Now Jericho looked up at me on that cross and wagged his little tail. The kind of love a dog has is a love that never fails. It's kind of like the love of God, no matter what you do. A dog looks through the outer shell and loves the inner you. Soldiers told the crowd it's late, the sun is going down. Go celebrate your Sabbath now, you get on back to town. But Jericho just stood there looking up in Jesus' eyes. He knew that crown of thorns he wore was only a disguise. To Jericho, his master was a king, the center of his life. That dog's never gonna leave, the soldier said and drew his knife. Don't hurt the dog, a stranger cried, you've done enough today. Then the stranger picked up Jericho and carried him away. Mary said she'd seen him at the tomb. He waited by the stone. The gardener said, I fed him. That dog just won't go home. Next day, Mary saw the stone was rolled away. And she said, oh, where have they taken him? By the way, where's Jericho? So many things that Jesus did were never written down. The world could not contain the books if everyone were bound. You won't read it in John's Gospel, there's no chapter 22. But just because you never heard it doesn't mean it isn't true. Thank you. This is called Old Friends, New Friends. River winds its way to find the sea. Love is blind and freedom's never free. These are things the old man said to me. He was never known to lie. Every star has got a space to shine. And God is every place, in your world and in mine. And we've all got the same amount of time. 24 hours every day. Every night the old man used to pray for his old friends, new friends, fair weather and true friends. What would I do without you, friends? What would I do without you? So from now until eternity, God is watching over you and me. And I remember what the old man said to me. And he was never known to lie. He said every star has got its space to shine. And God is every place, in your world and in mine. And we've all got the same amount of time. 24 hours every day. Now every night I pray for my old friends, new friends, fair weather and true friends. What would I do without you, friends? What would I do without you? And now until eternity, eternity. Someone's watching over you and me. And that's the way it's always gonna be. Until we meet again. All the old friends, new friends, fair weather and true friend. What would I do without you, friend? What would I do without you, friend? What would I do without you? Thank you.
I've learned to slam on the brake before I even turn the key, before I make a mistake, before I lead with the worst of me. Give them no reason to stare, no slipping up if you slip away. So I've got nothing to share, no, I've got nothing to say. Step out of the sun if you keep getting burned. Step out of the sun because you've learned, because you've learned. Oh. On the outside, always looking in. Will I ever be more than I've always been? 'Cause I'm tapping on the glass, waving through a window. I try to sleep, but nobody can hear, so I wait around for an answer to appear while I'm watching people pass, waving through a window. Can anybody see? Is anybody waving back at me? We start with stars in our eyes. We start believing that we belong, but every sun doesn't rise, and no one tells you where you went wrong. Step out of the sun if you keep getting burned. Step out of the sun because you've learned, because you've learned. On the outside, always looking in. Will I ever be more than I've always been? 'Cause I'm tapping on the glass, waving through a window. I try to speak, but nobody can hear, so I wait around for an answer to appear while I'm watching people pass, waving through a window. window. Can anybody see? Is anybody waving? When you're falling in a forest and there's nobody around, do you ever really crash or even make a sound? When you're falling in a forest and there's nobody around, do you ever really crash or even make a sound? When you're falling in a forest and there's nobody around, do you ever really crash or even make a sound? When you're falling in a forest and there's nobody around, do you ever really crash or even make a sound? Did I even make a sound? Did I even make a sound? It's like I never made a sound. Will I ever make a sound? On the outside, always looking in. Will I ever be more than I've always been? 'Cause I'm tapping on the glass, waving through a window. I try to speak, but nobody can hear, so I wait around for an answer to appear while I'm watching people pass, waving through a window. Can anybody see? Is anybody waving back at me? Is anybody waving? Waving, waving, whoa, oh. Thanks.
There you go. Yeah, I know. I know how good that is, yeah. Ah, where's my hat? You get to be this. Cool. Thanks. You get to be the
I was going to wear this one sideways, but it doesn't work with this kind of hat, so, you know.
You have a different vibe than us.
Well, you know, there was always one that was,
That's true.
Anyway.
Yeah. Different vibe, I'm telling you. All right. You're good.
Yeah, you're fine.
Time.
This is another song, if any people know it and want to sing along with it. We're
Please
totally
do.
okay with that. This song is called Nostalgia.
Yeah.
Well, at least for some of us, I think.
I think this hat fits my hat. Well, I like it.
My fire, the one desire, believe when I say I want it that way, but we are two worlds apart, can't reach to your heart. When you say that I want it that way, tell me why ain't nothing but a heartache. Tell me why ain't nothing but a mistake.
speak for itself.
So tonight we're looking at the band, the Alter Egos, their rise, their fall, and who really heard of them. This story takes place in Springfield, Missouri, the Queen City. Oh yeah, I can recall those days like yesterday.
And we took it all for granted.
A lot of egos at play, and sometimes people think they're way better than they are.
The strife, the turmoil, the backstabbing.
That's the biggest misnomer, the biggest lie of this whole thing, right?
That cosmic essence that you can't measure exploded when we combined forces.
It was Missouri, Southwest Missouri State at the time as a student, and I ran into Phil at one of the pubs, and he had his blooming guitar, and he couldn't play it, but he came to me. He recognized me as being someone obviously who has musical talent. And I was somewhat infatuated that a bloke with so little going for him, and I thought, I can help this man.
And sometimes people think they're way better than they are. And usually all it takes is to record one track, hear yourself play back, and most people with any kind of level of self-awareness will realize that, maybe this is not for me. Not Phil. I absolutely loved the passion he had for wanting to put together this band. He did have a vision. It was pretty inspiring, but oh my, execution is a little different than just having the vision.
The thing about Phil is he does have an ego. We really tried hard to protect that. We let him know, maybe some of his moral shortcomings with the Dr. Pepper, the Cherry Mash were a problem.
But when it got down to the nitty gritty, he had no. And I mean, it sounds harsh, but the man had no musical talent whatsoever. And was I the only one who could see that? Of course not. The other ones saw that. And we tried as much as we could to get across to him that, focus on the ministry, focus on where things you're actually good at, because you're not good at this. And we went round and round and round about it, and and his problems just got worse and worse with the Dr. Pepper. I'd pick up a Coke can, and it was actually filled with Dr. Pepper, because he goes through that phase where you're trying to hide it, and all the time you turn around the corner and he's over there drinking another Dr. Pepper, and we're trying to record a track. You just can't function as a band like that when you got somebody who's a liability, a loose wheel on your car.
Nobody was going to tell him that he just wasn't that good a musician, but you didn't hear that from me. So, what's the next question?
Yeah, it's not working. It's just like we got to give it all like 110% and leave it all on the stage, And Phil, he's just not holding up. He's just dragging us down. We got to get a new guitar player, man.
Yeah, you wouldn't believe the lengths that we went to try to keep ourselves out of the public eye. a lot of shows in Reed Spring, a couple in Neosho. You know, the opportunities everybody knows are in Springfield. We just had to say no to a lot of opportunities just to make sure Phil didn't ever find out.
Yeah, the intervention. Or, you know, you put your chips on the table when you try to intervene like that. And so me and the other guys in the band, and we said that there was a talent agent at a local coffee house in Springfield, and we lied. We said, he wants to hear you play, Phil. And, you know, Phil, I think at the time he had 3 different guitars, and he couldn't play a single one of them. But, of course, he showed up, and then that's where we hit him. He said, you know, we looked him, I remember Greg, looked him in the eye and said, you know, your calling is the ministry. And we had a fellow, John Caputo was there. We had him there. We had leading clergy from throughout the world saying, for God's sake, Phil, give up the music and come to God. You know, that's your true calling. Don't ever play the guitar again, please. Phil, sadly, had a voice that not even his mother could love.
It's really hideous.
He's a real embarrassment to our tradition as a rock family.
You know, there's 2 sides to every story. Everybody remembers what they remember, but time heals all wounds.
So Phil got the help he needed, and he was down to 1 Dr. Pepper a day with a drive and a passion and a laser focus. He wanted to prove his bandmates wrong, and he wanted to prove the Ozarks wrong for being so quick to judge him. So Phil sought out far and wide the best musician he could find, if not only in the Ozarks, but in the Midwest. And it took him to a place and a person close to home.
So I hear that the alter egos are ready for a comeback. I really don't recommend it. I don't see how it's going to end any differently than it did before. And you know, I mean, even their kids don't want them to do it.
No, I hear him downstairs, and there's no way that it was good in the 80s if it sounds like that now.
Because this is a true story and not a work of fiction, we don't have all the answers to all the questions. Will the alter egos get back together again? We don't know. Will Phil prove himself musically capable? We don't know that either. How will this story end? Will it be a tale of redemption and ascendance and transcendence? We don't know. But based upon what we've heard, probably not.
You know, there have been rumors throughout the years about getting the band back together. Whether or not Phil is invited back, you know, we'll just have to wait and see. But yeah, I think I'd be open to it. You're not going to show this to Phil, right?
I think maybe it's time to revisit Phil's dream. I'd be willing to try it again. No, I wouldn't. No, I wouldn't.
But the idea of having the band back together, it just terrifies me.
I like the idea. I like the idea. Peace, love, flower power. Yeah.
So, man, aren't you stuck in the 60s, man? This is the 80s.
Oh. It is? I missed something. Drumming's drumming. You know, generation to generation, it doesn't change. We haven't even gotten started, have we?
Ladies and gentlemen, we are the Alter Egos. You may have heard of us before. We haven't performed in Springfield since the late 80s, so we're glad to be back in town. And you know, it's been kind of one of those days. I don't know how many of you were here this morning. You got to hear Ryan preach on the virtue of peacemaking and forgiveness. And Greg and Lou couldn't be here tonight. They send their best. But they also said, you know, in the spirit of love and forgiveness, why don't we see if Phil can make a comeback? So we'd like to invite Phil to come on back up. This is the reunion tour. We're getting the band back together. Phil, what do you think? Should we play one of those songs that we played back in the 80s?
Oh, sounds like a good idea.
Okay, how about that?
All right.
Everybody ready? While digesting Reader's Digest in the back of an old bookstore, a plastic flag with gum on the back fell out on the floor. Well, I picked it up and I ran outside, slapped it on my window shield, and if I could see old Betsy Ross, tell her how good I feel. But your flag decal won't get you into heaven anymore. They're already overcrowded from your dirty little war. Now Jesus don't like killing, no matter what the reason's for. And your flag decal won't get you into heaven anymore. Well, I went to the bank this morning, and the cashier said to me, if you join the Christmas club, we'll give you 10 little fags for free. Well, I didn't mess around a bit. I took him up on what he said, and I stuck them stickers all over my car, one on my wife's forehead. But your flag decal won't get you into heaven anymore. They're already overcrowded from your dirty little war. Now Jesus don't like killing, no matter what the reason's for. And your flag decal won't get you into heaven anymore. Well, I got my window shield so filled with flags I couldn't see, so I ran the car upside a curb, right into a tree. By the time they got the doctor down, I was already dead, and I'll never understand why the man standing in the pearly gates said, but your flag decal won't get you into heaven anymore. They're already overcrowded from your dirty little war. Now Jesus don't like killing, no matter what the reason's for. And your flag decal won't get you into heaven anymore.
I would like to express my appreciation to these bandmates, as well as announce my formal retirement from music. That's right.
a mountain when you're feeling valley low. I can be a street light showing you the way home. If you hold my hand when you need to let go. I want a house with a crowded table and a place by the fire for everyone. Let us take on the world where we're young and able and bring us back together when the day is done. If we want a garden, we're gonna have to sow the seeds, plant a little happiness, and let the roots run deep. If it's a love that we give, then it's a love that we reap. If we want a garden, we're gonna have to sow the seeds. Yeah, I want a house with a crowded table and a place by the fire for everyone. Let's take on the world while we're young and able and bring us back together when the day is done. The door is always open, your picture's on my wall. Everyone's a little broken and everyone belongs. Yeah, everyone belongs. I want a house with a crowded table and a place by the fire for everyone. Let us take on the world while we're young and able and bring us back together when the day is done. And bring us back together when the day is done.
That song has a way of expressing what it is all about for us, and that's to create a place where everyone belongs. Thank you for helping create that space, that place here in Springfield. Thank you for helping extend it beyond the walls of our church so that people who are on the streets can have a place to be warm and to belong. Thank you so much for being part of this evening's activities, all of the gifts that you've given, the donations you have made. A huge thanks again to all of our performers who were fantastic. There is still 15 minutes to bid on any silent auction items. May you go in peace and love, and may we create a world, may we create a Springfield where everyone belongs. Amen.